Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and what a show we've got for you this morning. What is actually happening at Manchester United around transfers? We'll get into that. We'll delve into this Neymar bid. Well, I say bid. Does Qatar ownership equal Neymar? Well, it sort of rhymes in a way. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Anthony Martial being shown the door by Erik ten Hag this summer. We'll also talk about the news stories around JONG, Osimhen and Kane. There's a lot to get into, plus some good info that we've got coming in as well. So it's starting to trickle in now. What's happening at Man United and why Martial's been shown the door. Main stories around that. But look, let's fly straight into this. We were live last night. It was a fantastic show. About halfway through the show, this story came in from France around Neymar to Manchester United. To be fair, 60% of you said no, you wouldn't want Neymar at Manchester United. There's two things to say here. Where is this story coming from? Why is it happening? And also the ESPN story from Mark Ogden, who was on the channel last week, saying that the current regime at Manchester United is not interested in Neymar. I would put inverted brackets around current and say, does that mean Qatar would be interested in Neymar to Manchester United? And you know what? I think you've got to hit this head on and say that Qatar and Al Thani is seen as this great ownership model that's going to be superb and everything's positive. And so Jim working with the Glazers is seen as everything that's wrong, everything that's negative. And the truth is, in between, there could be elements of Al Thani's ownership that is really, I guarantee you, if we're owned by Al Thani, within 6 months, people will be moaning about some of the decisions. Because that's just what fans do. There'll be a signing, there'll be a stadium sponsorship, there'll be, a movement towards a Super League. Something will happen, because that happens with every ownership, whether it's Liverpool, doesn't matter. So that Al Thani won't be perfect. I think it's the best option out there, but it won't be perfect. And Sir Jim with the Glazers won't be 100% terrible. It just represents what we don't want. So I think it's important to consider. Welcome to how we can be run under Qatar, says Robert McCormack. Well, look, if Al Thani gets hold of the club, do I think Neymar to Manchester United could happen? Yes. Is it right? Well, it's a little bit PSG, isn't it? A little bit Spursy, a little bit PSG. You go and buy a mega superstar that probably doesn't fit in with the journey that we're on at the moment. It's a little bit like buying Robinho, like Man City did when they got took over by Abu Dhabi. Fantastic player, but is it right for what you're trying to build? So, look, I do not think for 1 minute, and I agree with Mark Ogden, I do not think for 1 minute that the Glazers and Sir Jim are thinking about signing Neymar. Do I think that if Al Thani gets hold of Manchester United, Neymar could come to Manchester United? Yes, but only as much as I think Mbappe could. I think that they're the sort of signings that suddenly can happen because you're owned by mega wealth. So it can happen. But I think the most important thing to say about Neymar, and I think it says on our thumbnail, spin, we are in a time now where I'd say it's virtually impossible that we wouldn't get linked to Neymar at some point. We'll definitely get linked to De Jong. We'll probably get linked to Benzema. We'll get linked to Lewandowski. We'll get linked to everybody because there are 5 factors in the summer transfer window that we need to remind ourselves about here. First of all, if a player is unsettled, there are 2 things that can happen. Neymar at PSG, there's problems. There's been protests. There's all sorts going on. So it could be that PSG are looking to sell him. So you leak a story about Man United. Or it could be that Neymar is looking to leave. So you leak a story about Manchester United. So that's 2 things straight away. And this is the same. This could be the same about Harry Kane. It could be the same about Osimhen. But you've got to get your mind in the ring here. There are 5 factors that can impact why we get linked to a player. And all of them add up to nothing. So you could have the club trying to move him on because they know they've got to. So you generate interest with the story about Man United. You've got the player who wants to move on himself. So he could generate a story about Manchester United. You've also got the third option there, where the player wants a new contract at PSG, so generates a story about Manchester United. So there's 3 reasons there already why Manchester United could be linked to Neymar. On top of that, you've got ownership model. We don't normally have this, but new owner wants to put positive spin out about a player like that to build more PR, positive, around them buying the club. So, it could be coming from Qatar. It could be coming from them to say, look, these are the sort of signings we'll do. Everybody keep backing us. On the other hand, it could be coming from the other side of Sir Jim going, Look at the sort of signings he'll do if you get hold of his. So there's two PR spins there. Qatar could be doing it for positive. On the other hand, not everybody wants Neymar, so Sir Jim could be doing it for negative. There's 5 reasons, and there's probably more reasons, but there's 5 reasons there that we might get linked to Neymar, and none of them make it true. And this is where we need to get our head. Spin, because it's the summer of spin like it always is. And I've just given you 5 reasons why we might be linked to Neymar, and none of them are true. They're all manipulation. Of course, the 6th reason could be we generally do want to sign him. But, you know, before you get to the genuine truth, you've got to work your way through 5 reasons why Man United might get linked to him. I honestly don't know how people can be against a Neymar loan. If fans want the club to compete with the likes of City, we need world-class players, says Jordan. Thank you very much, Jordan. And worst birthday ever, why can't these parasites leave our club? It's ruining our fans' mental health, says Acid. Thank you very much. So, look, I want to bring that in because, obviously, we cover the summer on United Stand. Make sure you subscribe. We've done it for years. I can't, I think back to the days of Lozano when he was in Mexico and doing it from a London hotel room, or on the balcony in Mallorca falling over, or on the beach talking about God knows Jesus to Man United or whatever. Stephen just gifted a membership. It's exciting, but I think you also have to factor in, as I said last night, we will get linked to a player, and because some people are a little bit forgetful, they don't remember why you can get linked to a player and it can be complete bollocks. In fact, every transfer story, there's probably less than a 10% chance that it's true. So, as I said last night, Neymar to me may as well be Mbappe tomorrow. It could be Messi on Thursday. It doesn't matter to me because I don't believe it. There are certain ways where you start to believe it, and it'll either be a WhatsApp, a phone call, or somebody credible public, and that's the way it works for me. And I've seen nothing around Neymar to make me think it's true. What I will say is, if Qatar get hold of the club, PSG, Neymar needs to leave. It could work as a loan deal. It would be exciting. It's not the deal I would do, but if Ten Hag backed it, let's see what happens. But I wouldn't rule it out completely. But I would look at the 5 reasons I've just said there, and picking a 5 out of the 5 reasons. What I think it could be Neymar looking for a new contract. It could be PSG looking to sell him and generate interest. It could be Neymar looking to get out and generate interest, and it could be the 2 PR spins. Jamie apologised to Lissandro. Finally, some justice. Says Anaban. Yeah, we just need Gary to apologise to Bruno now. After Ronaldo, do we need another circus act? Says Ginger Red 68. Don't forget, actually, I've got so much to talk about this morning. Please remind me about the sale of Manchester United and Champions League football, because I'll forget about that. I think that Jamie, you've thrown me a little bit there. I think that with I think somebody just said there, why would Neymar be negative PR for Qatar? The same way it could be positive PR. Some people would look at it and go, oh, if we get Qatar, we can buy people like Neymar, but we'll never get them with Sir Jim and the Glazers. And some people might think that's really good news. On the other hand, some people like Robert McCormack alluded to would go, this is the sort of circus we'll have if we get bought by Qatar. They'll turn us into PSG, where we've got a front 3 of 3 players that don't play together well. So, it can be a positive and it can be a negative thing. And as we know, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few stories over the next couple of days from the British press who don't want Qatar to own Man United about the sort of circus that could ensue at United if they got hold of us. This wholesale process is just so confusing, says Mr. Sue. Well, I'll bring this bit in now then, because I do want to talk about a few other bits, and the Martial story is quite interesting and what's actually happening at United, because we've got this from a good source. But in relation to the sale, this is not from a good source. This is just pure speculation. Been speaking to a few people, reading a few things, and there's a bit of a theory out there. Look, my one theory I put out yesterday, and it is a theory, and some of you agreed with me, is that I think if the Glazers are going to stay, it makes total sense to not announce it until after the Fulham game, because then there's no home games, there's no games at all to protest about. So you say we're staying, there's not really much the fan base can do visibly. So that's a theory. Another theory is that as soon as Manchester United have got Champions League football, that increases the value, and the Glazers and the Rain Group could say to Alfani and Sir Jim, well, look, the club is more valuable now. It's in the Champions League, and it also, you can spend more money, because we all know that financial fair play, which I think you can bypass anyway with wealth, but that's another story. If you are in the Champions League, you can spend more. We know that. We know Champions League equals the ability to spend more because you've earned more. So that could be a negotiating point for the Glazers once United have got top four to say, well, we're worth more now. Are you going to give us more money? Which obviously elongates the process a little bit as well. So there are some people that think that that could be a theory as well as to why there's a little bit of a delay. Emil says, if we sign Neymar, we've made absolutely zero progress at all, and Erik ten Hag is fired before summer 2024. Love the show, Mark, says Emil. Look, I don't even know who's going to own Manchester United, but as I said at the start, there is no exclusive, there is no guarantee that any ownership model will be successful. If the clubs run badly, then it will fail. It's got to be run like Man City. It's got to be run like Newcastle, where you recruit the best to be the best. You don't run it like Todd Bowley, all the money in the world, but you're trying to run it yourself. That's a recipe for disaster. Mark, can you please check out what Fabrizio's just posted? Something just popped up while listening to the United Stand, says Angie. I'll have a quick look for you now. I do want to just have a very quick divert back to just something someone was talking to yesterday in relation to what's going on at Manchester United, and you might have seen it around. Let me just see. I never shout that I want to leave. Last summer I rejected proposals from really big clubs. Staying at Ajax this summer is not ruled out. It's just Alexi McAllister. Just Timber. That's boring, Angie. Rubbish. You've just totally took us down a wrong turn there. You should be ashamed of yourself. Rubbish story. Absolute rubbish. Sorry. Morning, Mark. Hope you're well, says Kenzie. So yeah, this is coming in from United sources, and you might have seen it around Martial. But there's two things to talk about here. One, Anthony Martial has basically been told he can leave in the summer. Ten Hag's sort of reached the end of his patience with him. We'll talk about that. And the second thing is, what are Manchester United actually doing at the moment? Which I think is a really good question. And, you know, it's unfair, whatever you think of United, to think that everybody just sat there going, well, I can't do anything. Can't do it. You know, Man United's recruitment team aren't sat there like many of us probably have done in the past when you go into work and, you know, there's been a power cut or the computers are down and you just sit there, can't do anything. Computer says no. They are actually doing stuff. It's probably a waste of time in a sense because they don't know the parameters of what they can do. There are conversations with certain agents, therefore players, but it's not the sort of conversation they want to be having because Liverpool can talk to Alexi McAllister and say, we want you, this is the price, this is the terms, whereas Man United, if they were speaking to Alexi McAllister, can say, we might, you know, it's a bit like, I'm a celebrity. It could be you, Alexi McAllister. It could be you. Well, he doesn't want it could be you. He wants it to be him, and United just can't offer that to anybody at the moment. So they are looking at players. Harry Kane is obviously a player they're really interested in, but Spurs are sort of shut up. We're not talking to you at all at the moment. Osimhen is a player that they're interested in, but they're sort of like, there's just no point. We haven't got the money at the moment. And, you know, Rabiot's a player that they've picked up from last year. He's out of contract. Rabiot, I'm told they can and are progressing that. Rabiot himself and his mother are assessing the options because he's out of contract at the end of June and they won't make a decision until then. But United have that relationship, and to be honest, they know they've got the money because there's no transfer to negotiate. So Rabiot is pretty much being progressed. And Kim Min-jae is a player that they've expressed a strong interest to through you know, his agency and him. But apart from that, a lot of it's just general waiting around to see what's going to happen. Ten Hag, I'm told, has given a detailed list of what he would like to be brought in this summer, including players. And there's numerous players in each position. But again, if Erik ten Hag has said, I want Kim Min-jae as my number one centre-back, Timber as my second, and I don't know, and Dika as my third, Man United can't approach them because they don't know what money they've got. So it's on hold because of the handbrake that's on because of the sale. But there's a lot of work gone in from Ten Hag and the recruitment team to prepare for the summer in relation to targets. They just can't move on them. It was likened to me like a firing range where, you know, there's all these targets and Liverpool are to the right and they're firing off their shots, and Chelsea are firing off their shots, and Newcastle are firing off their shots, and United are still waiting for the ammo. They're ready to shoot, but they've got no ammo. So, and by the time they get their ammo, everyone's shooting at the same targets. So that's sort of where United are at the moment, and that's how it was described to me. They're confident they will hit some targets because some people aren't shooting at those targets, but the more competitive targets are a problem. Irrelevant, but we should consider Patrick Schick as a backup. It doesn't get used, says Jay. On the Anthony Martial, someone says we haven't got any weapons. In relation to Martial, this was from the same source. There is a frustration from Erik ten Hag around Anthony Martial, and on the other hand, there is a frustration from Anthony Martial as well. There's a collective frustration about the injuries that have, massively undermined another season where Anthony Martial would have been the starter for Manchester United throughout the season, but he wasn't fit for a lot of it. He has managed to stay fit in the last few weeks, because I said, well, look, he's done well in the last few weeks. Surely that's changed that. What I was told is that, yeah, he has been fit for the last few weeks, but look at how he's been wrapped in cotton wool. He barely ever plays more than an hour. They're basically nursing him through the end of the season. He literally cannot play 90 minutes, even if you've had a week off. So, yes, he's stayed fit, but the minute Ten Hag tries to use him properly, like you play 90 minutes on Sunday, and then, he'll pick up an injury. So there's a massive frustration around Martial's fitness. And that's coming from both sides, of course. It's coming from Ten Hag and it's coming from the player. So that's a massive concern. And that's a massive frustration. And it's an understandable one. And it's one that Ten Hag apparently is just baffled as to how he deals with that, because he likes what the player could offer, but he feels like he's got a player he's never really got anywhere near 80% out of, yet alone 100%. So he is a player that has caused massive frustration to Ten Hag and massive frustration to himself, because he just can't play enough football. And the second thing is that obviously there is the Martial personality, which we're all aware of. And I don't mean the moody face and the laziness, because I think that's just stereotypical nonsense. But Martial, we know, wants to be the main guy. That's something, even as a fan of Martial, I would openly confess. He wants to be the main guy. He wants to be the number 9. He doesn't want to be on the bench. And we saw that on the Bournemouth game, that he was taken off after 56 minutes for Wout Weghorst. That's obviously a major issue for a player who is just massively frustrated. But it's an insight into how he is going to be a problem. And this is the second reason why Ten Hag is open to letting him go, because he's fully aware that he's trying to manage Martial through the rest of the season and has his own reasons why he wants to take him off. And then the player is frustrated by that, and obviously went down the tunnel and came back, which is by the by for me. But it's bye-bye for Anthony Martial, basically, if Ten Hag can find a way out for him, because it's established at Old Trafford, basically, that Martial may have the same injury problems next season, which makes him, virtually useless if he's not fit. And secondly, if they bring in a Harry Kane or an Osimhen, that's going to frustrate Martial even more. So Martial being shown the door, a lot of people are talking about that this morning, and to be fair, it's because there's truth to the story. I trust the source I spoke to yesterday, but it's not as abrupt as what people want to react to Pogba, where, I don't agree with people booing Pogba, and I don't want to see that happening for Martial at Old Trafford. I think it's just not right. It's not that sort of a breakdown in the relationship. It's basically frustration from the injury, and then an acceptance that they're going to buy a striker, which never goes well with Martial anyway. So it's almost like accepting defeat. It's like, logically, this is just not going to work out. And what I was told is, if Erik ten Hag knew in the summer that Anthony Martial would stay fit for 80% of next season and would happily be, off the bench, option, start midweek, maybe not start at the weekend, then Ten Hag would be very open to that relationship continuing. But the evidence suggests he won't be available for 80% of the season, and he won't be happy being the backup striker. So ultimately, they've got to find a solution. And that solution will probably not be a sale. They accept it probably will have to be a loan deal, which will cost them money. I don't understand how we're linked to all these players without any idea who runs the club, says John. So, look, the Martial thing, I'm a fan of Martial. I think there's a player there that could have been very, very special, and there's loads of reasons why it hasn't happened, and they're not all exclusively down to him. But yeah, that's just where we are with that. And we I think it's well established that we do need to buy a striker. And what I was told yesterday is if you could buy a Harry Kane and a Rasmus Højlund, or an Evan Ferguson and an Osimhen, then Martial would be moved out of the club one way or another anyway, and it would make a lot of sense. So you do have to look at it like that logically. The fact that Martial could stay with the injury problems and the fact that he doesn't want to be a number 2 would only be financial restriction anyway. Because if this was Manchester City, Martial would not be here next year for the reasons we've just said. He's never fit and he doesn't want to be a number 2. If he's at Man United next season, it's a massive indicator that the club is still massively restricted by finance and incompetence in recruitment and moving players on. Remember when we were told sale by March, says Frankie? We do remember that. Thank you very much. A lot of people think Kane is nailed on to us if he leaves, but if we drag our heels like we normally do, I could see Newcastle getting Kane. They'll spend big, and Newcastle are better than Spurs, says Gaz. I mean, look, spin is what I wanted to talk about, and there's a few players I wanted to sort of bring into that. Harry Kane, De Jong, and Osimhen. We spoke about the five fake factors of spin on Neymar. You know, player might want new contract. Club might want to sell, player might want to leave, new owners might want to spin positive or negative around what they do as new owners, and none of them actually are true around the story. I think genuinely Harry Kane is a player that Manchester United want to sign. Would he go to Newcastle? I don't think he would, but then why wouldn't he? I just think Man United is a bigger club than Newcastle at the moment. We're still living off bigger club FC, aren't we? You know, we're Manchester United. But Newcastle might not be a bad shout for Harry Kane. Look, he's not just go. I don't think he'd go to Newcastle. I think he'd want Manchester United because we're a bigger club at the moment. But really, over the next 5 years, who's got the best chance of winning the title? Right now, Newcastle. I'm going to get clipped for that, but right now, Newcastle have got a better chance of winning the Champions League and the Premier League over the next 5 years. Because I know what the Newcastle ownership model is, I know what their recruitment team is, and it's good. And our recruitment team's not good, and our ownership model's not good. If we got bought by Al Thani, or even Sir Jim, we might have a better chance. But right now, Newcastle's the better option. They're also in the Champions League. So why would Harry Kane not go to Newcastle when they've got a better chance of winning things and they're in the Champions League and you're going to get paid really well? And it's far enough away from Spurs that you'll be absolutely worshipped by Newcastle. So I could see it happening, but I feel that he will come to Manchester United. And it's not spin with Harry Kane. You know, United do really want Harry Kane, so it's not spin. De Jong is total spin. Like, that story is just complete nonsense. I regret it myself. I mean, the T-shirt's hung up in the wardrobe, and I don't think I'll ever wear it again. I might give it away at the Dublin show. In fact, I will give it away at the Dublin show because it's never going to happen. I'm going to throw it into the crowd, or we'll do a quiz on the Dublin show for that T-shirt. I'm definitely going to pack it this time. Remember, June the 6th, get your tickets. Just type in United Stand Tour on Google and get your tickets. We'll have a few giveaways for that, actually. But you know what? I think that the De Jong story came yesterday from some ridiculous story that Man United are going to spend £500 million this summer and they're going to get De Jong and Arahu from Barcelona. And because Barcelona can't pull any more levers, they will have to let De Jong go. Barcelona do not want to let De Jong go, and Man United do not have the money at the moment to even go for De Jong. Now, things can change. I'm not here to say it can't happen, but that deal is, again, get a fidget spinner for these occasions, says Axel. We will be linked to everybody this summer. Everybody. And if we get bought by Qatar, we'll be linked to absolutely everybody. Frenkie de Jong is Erik ten Hag's #1 midfield target, and I would love us to buy him. But he's had an incredible season for Barcelona, who've just won La Liga and want to make an impact on the Champions League next year. They want to bring Messi back. They want to build on their excellent season. They don't want to regress. They have got financial issues, but as we know, Barcelona will always find a way out. Frankie de Jong, at this moment in time, we haven't even got that Gerard Romero saying we're going to sign him like we did last year. It's a dead duck at the moment. It doesn't mean it can't become it can't be resurrected. It could be the Jon Snow of ducks. It could get resurrected and go whack. But the reality is, it's total crap at the moment, and there's no reason to believe it. The midfielder we're going to sign at the moment is Rabiot. That is the one. If I had to predict, if somebody said, "Come on, Goldbridge, give us a 90% on a midfielder," and I'm not 90% on Rabiot, but at the moment, Rabiot is the one where most of the pie chart says it will be Rabiot. I don't even think anybody else is anywhere near Rabiot. At the moment, I would say Sabitzer and Rabiot are the most likely two midfielders that we will sign. But things can change massively, and I think everything leads back to the sale of Manchester United, doesn't it? And I think if you had Super Wealth owning the club, and therefore Super Wealth represents Qatar and Al Thani, then the Neymar deals, the Casido deals, and every deal you want to talk about becomes possible. I can't announce the Barcelona centre-back's surname, Arajo. I can't pronounce it, so I'll just get piss taken out of me. But he would be the perfect partner for the butcher, Robin. He's been absolutely incredible this season for Barcelona. And look, we nearly got him. Was it last summer or the summer before? He was negotiating a new contract, but we're not going to get him. He's Barcelona's best centre-back. Frankie de Jong's probably Barcelona's best player. We're not going to get those players based on the summer transfer window that we're having at the moment. We need to actively make things happen quick, and I think it's. Look, I said this last night, so I'll move over it quickly. Every transfer story is worth looking at, but because you never know. I remember when Donny van der Beek got linked to us on a Saturday night, and I said it was complete bollocks. I said that is nonsense. That smells of complete and utter turd. It's rubbish, and it turned out to be true. So, I think that you've got to always assess every transfer story within reason, like we did the Neymar one. But the Neymar story is nonsense. It's just complete nonsense. I think that if we got bought by Al Thani, it probably becomes more likely, but it still could be nonsense. Doesn't mean that you don't look at it. It doesn't mean you don't assess it. But right here, right now, I think our most likely summer, and nobody likes to predict a summer, do they? Let's put our hands in the air and say, who likes to know exactly what summer transfer window we're going to have? Nobody does. You want the exciting deals that just come out of nowhere. But if I was predicting our summer right now, logically, it's Harry Kane, it's Kim Min-jae, and it's Rabiot, and that's it. That's all I see. Sahil, thank you very much for your super chat there. You're a legend, and we've also had that from Robin. We've done the fidget spinner one as well. What else did I want to mention? I know there's a couple of other things as well. Oh yeah, a few people have just said in the chat, did you see this Sky Sports Monday Night Football last night? Did you agree with signing of the season and Man United players not making it into either Gary Neville or Jamie Carragher's team of the season? And we've also got an update on Neymar here from Sky. So two things. Very, very quickly. Not having a Man United player in team of the season is a joke, just like not having Eric Ten Hag in the top 6 shortlist. I don't know what Carragher and Neville's problem is with Manchester United this season. It's almost like they're treating us like last year. We've got to 2 cup finals and we're in the top 4. Varane has had a better season than Diaz. I don't get the Varane. Even in our fan base, I don't get why Varane's so underrated. He's been world class this season. Our defence has been... Well, somebody's got to be responsible for 17 clean sheets. Somebody's got to be responsible for conceding less than 10 goals at home all season. If it's not De Gea, and it is, and it's not Varane, and it is, and it's not Luke Shaw, and it is, it's not all on Martinez. So Varane, to not put any Man United player in the back five of a team of the season is just narrow-minded nonsense. Well, they got beat 7-0. They got beat 7-0. They got beat by Man City. They got beat by Newcastle. Yeah, a season's 38 games. Arsenal took 43 points from their first 48. They're miles off the top. A season is 38 games. Varane has played at centre-back with Martinez, world-class. He's been centre-back with Luke Shaw, world-class. He was the one with Luke Shaw that kept Haaland quiet at Old Trafford. He was the one at the Nou Camp that was, for me, man of the match. Everyone puts Ruben Diaz in their team of the season. I don't think he's even Man City's best centre-back. I think John Stones has been better than Diaz this season, and you could argue that I think Akanji's been better. I think Diaz is just a lazy... I think people who put Ruben Diaz in as best centre-back this season don't watch a lot of Premier League football. It's the lazy pick. It's like putting Van Dijk in every year. Diaz this season has been very good, but Botman's been better. Saliba's been better. Varane's been better. You could argue Martinez has been better as well. John Stones has been better. So I think you've got to put either Martinez or Varane in a team of the season because our defence has been brilliant. It's why we're in the top four. It's not because we scored goals. Marcus Rashford off the left as well, I think probably should have made it as well. Don't forget to talk about the sale and the Champions League, says Durag. I have mentioned that. I'll go back to that. I want to talk about Sky Cave's tweet about Neymar as well. But on the sale, I have a theory, and I've seen it floating around a bit, that I have a theory that they're waiting till after the Fulham game to announce they're staying because nobody can protest. There is also another theory that I've seen a few people mentioning, and I agree with it, that they're waiting to see if we qualify for the Champions League. Because once we've qualified for the Champions League, you can then go to Al Thani, and you can then go to Sir Jim and say, look, we want a bit more money because this club's going to be worth more next year because it's in the Champions League. You can buy more players. Pep hasn't even played Diaz in every game, says Edward. Look, Diaz is a really good player, but I think it's lazy punditry to put him in there as best centre-back this season. He's not Man City's best centre-back. I'm not disrespecting City. I've watched City quite a lot this season. He ain't their best centre-back. And I certainly don't think... The thing about Man City is as well, look, again, this just comes down to the amount of football we watch as a community and a lot of other people watch. The thing about Man City is Ederson has made less than half the saves Nick Pope and David De Gea have made this season. As a Man City defender, you don't defend as much as an Arsenal defender, a Newcastle defender, a Man United defender. So I don't know how Diaz gets in, because surely at centre-back you're putting somebody in who's done loads of good defensive work. Like in goal, I think Neville put Pope in and Carragher put Alisson in. Well, Alisson's been the best goalkeeper this season, but he's been bloody busy. And Pope's been busy. But then they go and put Diaz in, who really hasn't been that busy either. It's just a lazy pick, and that's what you get sometimes because they're not watching football properly or enough that they go, oh, yeah, just put Diaz in there. And he's clearly not. Botman's had a better season than him. Saliba's had a better season than him. You could argue Gabriel's had a better season than him. Shaw's had a better season than him. Varane has. Martinez has. And he, as I say, he's not even the best defender at City. Appreciate your content. Do you take interns, says Sohil? Depends where you live, mate. If you're in Manchester, you've got a chance, yes. Send us an email. That's football at gmail.com. I think that's not... Is it? Yeah. I think that's it. That's football at gmail.com. I think that's it. No, it's that's football media, I think. Let me have a check. Yes, that's football media at gmail.com if you intern or anything like that. I wanted to read you this Sky Cave tweet, by the way. So he said that Manchester United have been approached by intermediaries about signing Neymar for PSG. There are a number of clubs who have been contacted about his potential availability. While a deal might make sense from a commercial point of view, he's not currently a United target. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't take credit, but, you know, he's tweeted that, and what was it, half an hour ago? We went through the 5 reasons a player like Neymar will be linked to Manchester United. What did we say? 1, the club want to sell him, so they put a story out there about Man United to generate interest. 2, the player wants to leave, so you put a story out there about Man United to generate interest. 3, the player wants a new contract from PSG, so you put a story out there to generate interest. And the other 2 were around the sale of United. What does Sky Cave say? Intermediaries have approached Manchester United and approached a load of other clubs as well. So basically, we're being used to generate interest around Neymar, because ultimately, maybe Neymar's thinking about China. Maybe he's thinking about La Liga. Maybe he's thinking about the MLS. Maybe he's thinking about the Premier League. We would just be a name used to generate interest. I was surprised that I played the game FC didn't choose Shaw or Varane. Yeah, Black Wolf, I agree. Welcome to Members Club, Darren. I mean, I think Rafael Varane is the most underrated player in the Premier League this season. I get rival fans probably don't watch us, but he is so underrated. I mean, I don't want to say it again, but if he had a British passport, they wouldn't shut up. If it was Harry Maguire playing like Varane all season, he'd be the best centre-back in the world. It's almost like with some players, and Casemiro, it happens to a certain extent as well. Once you hit 30, yeah, he's had a great career, but you know, there's no interest in what Varane's done this season. And I think, you know, you think about some of the games he's played this season has been brilliant. His injury record's been better. Centre backs are about a partnership. You put Martinez with Maguire, you're in trouble. You put Varane with Tuan Sebi, it probably doesn't work. You put Martinez with Varane, it's been brilliant. You put Martinez with Luke Shaw, it's been Varane with Luke Shaw, it's been brilliant. I think he's so underrated. He's underrated by some people in the fan base. What was it last week? People saying Kim Min-jae comes straight into that team for Varane, and I'm like, but Varane's not done anything wrong. He's actually played superb this season, and you're going to put Kim Min-jae ahead of him. There's something about Varane that's just very underrated. I don't know. I don't get it, because every game I watch him, I think he's brilliant, but for some reason he just doesn't get the recognition. Maybe that was the deal struck between the Glazers and Al Thani. Wait to see if we qualify for the Champions League, and if we do, give us 6 billion. If not, 5.5, says Rohit. Yeah, he's not even 30 yet. Not even 30 yet. PPP says that Varane is one of the top 10 centre-backs to ever play football. He doesn't need recognition. Well, of course he bloody does. I don't know why he doesn't get it. We're privileged to have a player like that in the club, in the league, and he doesn't get it. But at the end of the day, you know, I think he's been brilliant for us this season, and he should be walking into a Premier League team of the season as far as I'm concerned. You could argue so should Martinez. I don't think that losing to Liverpool 7-0 or getting beat by City or Newcastle. I've played centre-back. I've played the game, and you can get beat 8-9-0 and still play well as a centre-back. And people will go, no, you can't. But you bloody well can. It's 11 against 11. I've played centre-back before and been man of the match, and we've been beat 7-0. I remember it happening. I was 14 years of age playing for Cotgrave. And the reality is, our midfield and attack was crap, and we were playing one of the best leagues in the district, teams in the district, and they absolutely were all over the place. And as one centre-back, you can't do everything. You can't pick up all the runners. You can't go everywhere. In fact, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be Sergio Ramos. Like, if your midfield isn't picking up the runners at that level, you're going to look rubbish, because there's runners all over the place. You can't mark everybody. So I think Varane and Martinez have been brilliant this season. Luke Shaw as well. I think the back five are the reason, and Casemiro why we will get top four. If I'm being completely honest, I do. Yeah, I do. I really, really do. Make sure you smash the like on the video, by the way. Loving the shows at the moment. Last night was an amazing show. I'm looking forward to the 8 o'clock show tonight. I don't know what it was all about, but it was absolutely fantastic. Just having a look if there's any other news coming in. Oh, interesting again. This again, look, it just shows you, doesn't it? I'm very pleased about this. So, wow, this is really interesting. Really interesting. So, look, people can do what they want, but the United stand is the biggest Man United fan community. Everybody's welcome. You know that. We've said that for years. Over the years, we've had some really good info come in, and over the years, we've built good connections with people, and obviously, we don't expose our sources or anything like that. Otherwise, there won't be a source anymore. So I was talking about Anthony Martial. Spoke to somebody yesterday about things that are going on about at United around what preparations we're doing for transfers. We spoke about that about 20 minutes ago. And we also spoke about Martial and said how there's two reasons the patience run out from Ten Hag. One of it's the injuries, and one of it's the knowledge that Martial would not want to be the backup player. Now, this is not our source. Neil Custis in The Sun, who has been a Man United correspondent for decades. I know a lot of people don't rate The Sun, but Neil Custis, just the same as Mike Keegan in the Mail. Mike Keegan in the Mail has come right to the top when it comes to the sale. Not necessarily been up at the top when it comes to transfer news, but he's right up at the top of the sale. Neil Custis, now and then, gets really good info from Man United. He has put a tweet out in the last half an hour. The Man United board and Erik Ten Hag both want Anthony Martial to leave. They've ran out of patience. So, look, I don't speak to Neil Custis about anything. So, and it's not the only person talking about that. So, obviously, this is a story that's now starting to circulate from different people. So, yeah, I mean, do I think Martial will be at Man United next season? You can never say never, because ultimately he won't be an easy player to move on. But logically, the frustration is from both sides, by the way. It's not just from Ten Hag. It's not just from the club. It's from Martial as well. He's frustrated with the injuries, and he will be frustrated about being second fiddle to a Harry Kane or another striker. So United will move him on in the summer, and I think that's the plan. Can Sancho go too, says Thorson? I think Sancho's got to be here next season, in my opinion. I like the player. I still think he's the most creative wide player we've got, but I do worry about Sancho. The future doesn't look great at the moment, but you know what? A year ago, the future didn't look, and I think we've always got to... History is evidence. A year ago, I was sat here with most of you saying, I think it's time for Rashford to go. He can't pull out a good performance. He looks lost. He needs a change of scenery, and so do we. And then he came back and had a really good season. So the Marcus Rashford effect is really important when you're writing players off, because things can change. Now, people will quite rightly say, yeah, but that was Marcus Rashford coming off the back of loads of injuries under Ranić and Solskjaer, and Ten Hag was the factor why Rashford became good again. Ten Hag's been working with Sancho. There's no change of manager coming in the summer. So, yeah, there are mitigating factors there, of course. But I still think Sancho will be at Man United next season, and therefore it's another opportunity to turn it around. And I hope he does, because it's better when you're paying a player that amount of money and you paid that amount of money for him, that it works out. And I don't see Sancho going anywhere this summer. But always, you've got to be honest and say Garnacho, Ahmad, Rashford, Anthony, that's 4 players ahead of Sancho. And, point 5, Ten Hag didn't buy Sancho. It's not a player that Ten Hag has to have loyalty or obsession to making him succeed. It's not his signing. Anthony's his signing. That's the one that he will want to prioritise, because it's his expensive signing. Sancho was Solskjaer's signing. So it's hard to see a future for Sancho, but there is still a chance. Need to work out what we're doing with Greenwood, says John. Well, look, you know what? It's not a word that you need to put G-Wood. You could have put Greenwood in there. I mean, I've spoke about it on the tour shows. There's no point hiding away about Mason Greenwood. I know it's a touchy topic. I completely understand that. But there's no point in ignoring it, because there will be a decision need to be made. There is a decision that needs to be made around Mason Greenwood. You're right. I think that decision will be to move him on, whether it's on loan or not. I think you have to do that. I wasn't told this yesterday. I was told this weeks ago that there are people within that dressing room who are uncomfortable with Mason Greenwood. And they were probably uncomfortable with him before all of this. You know, there was a bit of a personality clash. But personality clashes in dressing room are not nothing new. That doesn't mean that he couldn't come back into that dressing room. I don't think he will, but it's not a word we need to avoid. Like, it's a problem or an issue for Manchester United to solve, and they will have to solve it at some point. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Lots of stuff starting to come in. We need to get this point, get Champions League football like Newcastle, and then hopefully we can start moving forward on transfers and the ownership. Mark, if Sancho's flops, would it be better if Ten Hag goes with Mason, says Black Wolf? I don't know. Look, as a player, I'll never deny that I used to call Greenwood a generational talent. But, as I've told you many times, you know, you can really appreciate someone as a player, and I'm not talking about Greenwood here because I've never met him. You can really appreciate someone as a player, and in real life, they're the biggest prick in the world. And unfortunately, this happens quite a lot with footballers. You know, they can be your heroes and an absolute prick. So, you know, I think ultimately how you assess these people is up to you. But the way I do it is I look at what they deliver on the pitch. And that doesn't take away from the fact that they were legends or talented people. Mason Green was a very talented player. We are where we are. Man United have got a decision to make. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.